I used to believe that love was supposed to be simple, especially when you're young. That's what everyone says, right? Young love is pure. Young love is real. Young love is forever. I believed all of it. Until the night I realized I was just a chapter in his story, not the ending. I met Ethan when I was 22. It was a random Tuesday afternoon at a small coffee shop near campus. I was finishing my last semester, juggling 2 part-time jobs and barely sleeping. Life felt like a blur of responsibilities. And then he walked in. Tall, confident, the kind of smile that made you feel like the only person in the room. He ordered a black coffee. No sugar. No milk. I don't know why I noticed that, but I did. He sat across from me. Not because he knew me, but because it was the only empty seat left. Mind if I sit here? He asked. I nodded, pretending to focus on my laptop. But I wasn't typing anything. I could feel his presence. Calm. Grounded. Different. We didn't talk at first. Just silence. Until he glanced at my screen. Marketing major? He asked. I looked up, surprised. Yeah. Final semester. He smiled. Same here. That was it. That was how it started. We started seeing each other every day after that. Same coffee shop. Same time. First it was just small talk. Classes. Professors. Complaints about exams. Then it became deeper. Dreams. Fears. Family. He told me he wanted to build something of his own someday. A business. Something meaningful. I told him I just wanted stability. A home. A life that didn't feel like I was constantly surviving. He looked at me once, really looked at me, and said, "You deserve more than just survival." No one had ever said that to me before. A month later, we were inseparable. We didn't even label it. We didn't need to. He'd pick me up after work. We'd drive with no destination. Sometimes we'd just sit in his car, talking for hours. Felt easy. Natural. Like we had known each other forever. My friends warned me, don't fall too fast. Guys like him don't stay. It's too perfect. But I ignored them. Because when you're in love, logic feels like noise. And he made me feel seen. Safe. Chosen. One night, about 3 months in, he took me to the beach. It was late. Almost midnight. The city lights reflected on the water, and the air was cold enough to make me shiver. He noticed immediately. Without saying anything, he took off his jacket and wrapped it around me. That small gesture. It meant everything. We sat on the sand watching the waves. And then he said something I'll never forget. I've never felt this way about anyone before. My heart stopped for a second. Neither of us said, "I love you." But it didn't matter. We both knew. That night I made a decision. A quiet one. I was all in. No holding back. No protecting myself. Because for the first time in my life, I felt like I had something real. What I didn't know was, while I was falling deeper into him, he was already starting to pull away. And I didn't see it. Not at first. Because love has a way of blinding you. Right before it breaks you. First, I didn't notice the change. Because when you love someone, you don't look for problems. You look for reasons to stay. Started with small things. Things that felt harmless. Ethan stopped texting me, "Good morning." First, I told myself he was just busy. Then he stopped calling me at night. "Work's been crazy," he said. I believed him. Of course I did. Because when someone you love gives you an explanation, you don't question it. You accept it. The coffee shop? We stopped going. "Let's try somewhere else," he said one day. But somewhere else never happened. Instead, our routine disappeared. And so did a part of him. I started seeing him less. From every day to every few days to sometimes just once a week. But every time I brought it up, he'd pull me close, look into my eyes and say, "Hey, don't overthink. I'm here, aren't I?" And somehow that was enough to silence my doubts. Until one night. It was a Friday. I had just finished a long shift, exhausted, mentally drained. All I wanted was to hear his voice. So I called him. No answer. I texted. No reply. I waited. An hour. 2 hours. Still nothing. Around midnight I checked my phone again. And that's when I saw it. A notification. Otog. From someone I didn't know. I opened it. And my stomach dropped. It was a photo. Ethan. A party. Loud music. Flashing lights. Drinks everywhere. And next to him a girl. Close. Too close. Her hand resting on his chest. His arm around her waist. Both of them smiling like they belong there. Together. I stared at the photo for a long time. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it was just a moment. Maybe it meant nothing. Right? I clicked on her profile. Scrolling. Photo after photo. And then another one. Same night. Different angle. This time he was looking at her the way he used to look at me. That feeling. It's hard to describe. It's not just jealousy. It's not just anger. It's something deeper. Like your chest is being hollowed out from the inside. I didn't call him again. I didn't text. I just sat there. Alone. Trying to convince myself that I was overreacting. The next morning he finally replied. Sorry, fell asleep early. I stared at the message. Read it again. And again. Fell asleep? At a party? With her. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I could confront him. Send the photo. Ask him the truth. But something inside me stopped. Instead, I typed, It's okay. Hope you slept well, smiling face with smiling eyes. That was the moment everything changed. Not because of what he did, but because of what I chose to ignore. Because deep down, I knew something wasn't right, but I wasn't ready to lose him yet. And sometimes the most dangerous thing in love isn't betrayal. It's denial. I told myself I wouldn't bring it up. Not yet. Because once you say it out loud, there's no going back. For the next few days I acted normal. At least on the outside. I laughed at his text that I replied like everything was fine. I didn't mention the photo. But inside, I was watching everything. Every word. Every delay. Every excuse. And that's when I started noticing more. Things I had ignored before. He always turned his phone face down now. Every time we were together. If it buzzed, he wouldn't check it right away. But I could see it, his eyes flicking toward it. Just for a second. Like he was making sure I didn't notice. One night we were in his car. Same spot we used to sit for hours. But it didn't feel the same anymore. The silence felt heavier. Are you okay? He asked suddenly. I forced a smile. Yeah. Why? He shrugged. You've been quiet. I almost laughed. Quiet? Or just not blind anymore? That's when I decided. I couldn't pretend anymore. I saw the photo. The words came out softer than I expected. But they hit harder than I thought. He froze. Just for a second. But I saw it. What photo? He asked. Too fast. Too casual. Too fake. The party. The girl. Silence. For a moment I thought he'd tell the truth. That he'd look at me and say, yeah, I messed up. But he didn't. Instead he leaned back, exhaled and said, You're overthinking. That word again. It's just a friend, he continued. You know how parties are. People take pictures. It doesn't mean anything. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, I didn't recognize the person in front of me. Then why didn't you tell me you were going to a party? I asked. He hesitated. Because I knew you'd react like this. Like this? Something inside me shifted. So now it's my fault? I said quietly. He rubbed his face, clearly annoyed now. I'm just saying, not everything is a big deal. You're making it one. That hurt. More than the photo. More than the lie. Because he wasn't just denying what happened. He was rewriting it. Making me feel like I was the problem. And for a second it worked. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was too emotional. Maybe I was about to ruin something good. Over nothing. But then my phone buzzed. A message. From a number I didn't recognize. I glanced at it. Then opened it. And everything stopped. It was a photo. Not from the party. Not from social media. This one was different. Closer. More intimate. Ethan. In a room I had never seen before. And the same girl. But this time they weren't just standing close. They were kissing. I felt the air leave my lungs. Next to me Ethan was still talking. Still explaining. Still convincing. I'm telling you it's nothing. Then explain this. My voice didn't shake. Not this time. I turned the phone toward him. And watched as the color drained from his face. The moment he saw the photo, everything changed. Ethan didn't speak, didn't move, didn't even try to deny it this time. That silence? It was louder than any lie he had told before. Watched his face carefully, waiting, hoping maybe he'd finally tell the truth. Seconds passed. Then he leaned back slowly, ran his hand through his hair and exhaled. Where did you get that? Not I'm sorry. Not it's not what it looks like. Just that. I let out a quiet laugh. Not because it was funny, but because in that moment I understood something. I was never his priority. Just an option. Does it matter? I asked. He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. Eyes shifting. Thinking. Calculating. That's when I knew. He wasn't trying to fix this. He was trying to manage it. Look, he finally said, his tone lower now. It's complicated. Complicated. That word. The favorite excuse of people who don't want to take responsibility. No, I said. It's actually very simple. I swallowed, forcing myself to stay calm. You're with her. He looked at me, and for a second I saw something different in his eyes. Not guilt. Not regret. Annoyance. You're twisting things, he replied. It's not like that. Then what is it like? I asked. Silence again. Then he said something I wasn't ready for. She's been in my life longer than you. My heart dropped. What does that mean? I whispered. He hesitated. Just enough for the truth to settle in before he even said it. She's my ex. Ex. The word echoed in my head, but something didn't add up. Ex. I repeated. Then why are you kissing her? He looked away, and that's when I felt it. That instinct. That deep, quiet voice inside me, telling me there was more. You never really ended it, did you? I said slowly. He didn't answer. He didn't need to, because silence is also an answer. I felt my chest tighten. Memories started replaying in my head. All the nights he was busy. All the missed calls. All the canceled plans. It wasn't random. It wasn't work. It was her. How long? I asked. He sighed, clearly frustrated now. Why does that matter? Because it mattered. It mattered more than anything. Because I deserve to know if I was ever real to you, I said. That hit him. I saw it. Just for a second. But then he said the one thing that shattered everything. I didn't think it would get this serious. I stopped breathing. What? You and me, he continued, avoiding my eyes. It was supposed to be casual at first. Casual. That word felt like a knife. 3 months, Ethan, I said, my voice barely holding together. Every day. Every night. You said things. I meant them. He cut in quickly. At the time. Like feelings had an expiration date. Like I was just a phase. And now? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he looked at me, not with love. Not with warmth. But with distance. I don't know, he said. That was it. Not even a choice. Not even a fight. Just uncertainty. And somehow that hurt more than betrayal. Because I wasn't even worth a decision. I nodded slowly, tears burning in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Okay, I whispered. I reached for the door handle. Wait, he said suddenly. I paused, but I didn't turn around. Don't make this bigger than it is, he added. That was the last thing he said to me that night. And in that moment, something inside me finally broke. Not my heart. My illusion. I didn't cry when I got home. Not immediately. I just sat there, on the edge of my bed, still wearing the same clothes, still holding my phone. Everything felt quiet. Too quiet. Strange how heartbreak works. You expect screaming, crying, breaking things. But sometimes it's just silence. And in that silence you finally start to see clearly. I replayed everything in my head. The first day we met. The late night drives. The beach. His voice. His promises. You deserve more than just survival. I laughed. Softly. Bitterly. Because the truth was he gave me exactly that. Survival. Not love. That was the moment something shifted inside me. Not pain. Not anger. Clarity. For the first time since I met him, I wasn't thinking about how to fix things. I was thinking about how to walk away. But walking away wasn't as simple as it sounded. Because even when someone hurts you, you still remember the version of them you loved. And that version, it doesn't disappear overnight. The next morning, I woke up to a message from him. Hey, let's talk later. I don't want things to end like this. I stared at the screen. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just let's talk. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in months. I chose myself. I went to class early. Sat in the front. Actually listened. After that, I went to work and didn't check my phone every 5 minutes. For the first time in a long time, my world didn't revolve around him. And it felt unfamiliar, but also free. Until lunchtime. My phone buzzed again. Another message. But this time not from him. From her. The girl. My heart skipped. Just for a second. Then I opened it. I think we need to talk. Short. Direct. No emoji. No explanation. I stared at the message for a long time. This was it. The part most people avoid. The truth. I hesitated. Then typed. About what? Her reply came almost instantly. About Ethan. And what he didn't tell you. My chest tightened. Didn't tell me? There it was again. That feeling. That something bigger was hiding underneath everything. Okay, I replied. Where? She sent a location. A small cafe across town. 3 p.m. I looked at the time. 1:47 p.m. 2 hours. 2 hours until I either got closure or had my heart broken all over again. I almost didn't go because part of me was afraid. Afraid of what she might say. Afraid that it would confirm everything I didn't want to believe. But another part of me, stronger now, knew I needed the truth. So I went. When I walked into the cafe, I spotted her immediately. She looked different up close. Calmer. More composed. Not like the girl in the party photos. She wasn't smiling. She was waiting. For me. I walked over slowly. Sat down across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me. And said something that made my entire world stop. You think you're the other woman. She paused. But you're not. My heart dropped. Then what am I? I asked quietly. She leaned in slightly. Eyes steady. Voice calm. You're the replacement. Everything went silent. And just like that, the story I thought I was living wasn't the real story at all. The replacement. Her words didn't just hurt. They rearranged everything I thought I knew. I stared at her. Trying to process. Trying to understand. I don't get it, I said slowly. What are you talking about? She leaned back, crossing her arms. Calm. Too calm. My name is Lila, she said. And Ethan and we've been together for 3 years. 3 years. My mind went blank. That's not possible, I whispered. He said you were his ex. She gave a small, almost tired smile. He says a lot of things. Silence filled the space between us. 3 years. While I thought I was building something real, I was just walking into something already built. So what am I? I asked again. This time my voice was steadier. Colder. She looked at me carefully, as if deciding how much truth I could handle. You're what he does when things get hard, she said. I frowned. What does that mean? She exhaled, then leaned forward slightly. When Ethan and I fight, he disappears, she explained. He finds someone new. Someone who doesn't know him yet. My stomach dropped. Someone who believes the version of him he wants to be. I felt sick. And then what? I asked. She didn't hesitate. He stays until it's convenient to go back. Go back. To her. I clenched my hands under the table. So this whole time, I whispered, I was just temporary? She didn't sugarcoat it. Yes. That word hit harder than anything else. Not because I didn't suspect it, but because hearing it out loud made it real. But why are you telling me this? I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. Because I was you once. That caught me off guard. I thought I was the only one, she continued. Special. Different. She let out a quiet laugh. I wasn't. The cafe suddenly felt smaller. Heavier. How many? I asked. She paused. Before you. She looked down for a second, then back at me. Two that I know of. I felt something inside me snap. Not sadness. Not heartbreak. Something sharper. Awareness. So why do you stay? I asked. This time she didn't answer right away. Because the truth was obvious. Love. Habit. Fear. I don't know anymore, she finally said. Honest. Broken. And for the first time I didn't see her as the enemy. I saw her as someone trapped. Just like I almost was. We sat there in silence. Two women. Connected by the same lie. Then I asked the question that changed everything. Does he know you texted me? Her eyes flickered. No. Inudda slowly. And that's when the idea came. Not revenge. Not yet. Something smarter. Don't tell him we met, I said. She looked surprised. Why? I leaned forward slightly. Because if he thinks I still believe him. I paused. He won't see it coming. Her expression shifted. From confusion to understanding. You're not going to just walk away, are you? She asked. I shook my head. No, not this time. Because this wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about truth. And if Ethan thought he could keep rewriting the story, then maybe it was time. Someone else held the pen. I didn't text Ethan that day. Not after the cafe. Not after the truth. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was planning. That night I sat in my room, phone in hand, rereading every message he had ever sent me. Miss you. Wish you were here. You're different. Different. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because now I knew those words weren't special. They were scripted. Copy. Paste. Repeat. At 11:42 p.m., I finally replied to his message from earlier. Hey, I've been thinking. Maybe we should talk. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Yeah, I didn't like how things ended. Can I see you tomorrow? Of course. Now he wanted to see me. I paused for a second, then typed. Same place. The beach, he replied. I stared at the screen. The same beach. The same place where he once made me believe. I was the only one. Perfect. Yeah, I sent. Because if he wanted to replay the story, I was going to change the ending. The next day felt different. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't excited. I was calm. Dangerously calm. Before I left, I sent one more message. To Lila. Tonight. 9 p.m. The beach. Be there. But don't come out until I text you. Her reply came a minute later. Are you sure? I looked at myself in the mirror. For the first time in weeks, I didn't look broken. I looked focused. Yes. 9 p.m. He was already there when I arrived. Same spot. Same car. Same ocean in the background. For a second it felt like nothing had changed. But everything had. He smiled when he saw me. Walked toward me like he always did. Like nothing ever happened. Hey, he said softly. I smiled back. Not the same smile. Controlled one. Hey. We stood there for a moment. The sound of waves filling the silence. Then he stepped closer. I missed you, he said. There it was again. The script. And this time I saw right through it. I missed you too, I replied. Lie. He relaxed instantly. Like he had already won. I knew you'd come around, he said with a small grin. That line. It told me everything. This wasn't about fixing things. It was about control. He reached for my hand. And I let him. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed him to believe. Look, he said, pulling me slightly closer. I know things got messy, but you and me, this is real. Real. I nodded slowly. Then prove it, I said. He frowned slightly. What do you mean? I looked him straight in the eyes. Tell me the truth, I said. All of it. A pause. A crack in his confidence. What truth? He asked. I tilted my head slightly. About her. His jaw tightened. That again, he said. I didn't react. Just waited. Because silence makes people uncomfortable. And uncomfortable people make mistakes. He exhaled, then stepped closer, lowering his voice. She doesn't mean anything, he said. There it was. The lie. Again. I took a step closer too. Say it again, I whispered. He looked confused. What? Say it again, I repeated. She doesn't mean anything, he said. Louder this time. More confident. And that's when I pulled out my phone. Typed one message. Now. A few seconds passed. Then footsteps. Behind him. He froze. Slowly he turned around. And the moment he saw her, everything shattered. The moment Ethan saw her, he stepped back. Like the ground beneath him had shifted. Lila, he said, his voice tight. What are you doing here? The confidence? Gone. The control? Gone. All that was left was panic. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, watching. 'Cause this time, I wasn't the one asking questions. She was. I think that's my line, Lila said calmly. She walked closer. Slow. Steady. And for the first time I saw something different in her. Not hurt. Not confusion. Strength. Ethan looked between us. Back and forth. Trying to understand. Trying to recover. What is this? He asked. I tilted my head slightly. You tell me, I said. Silence. You could hear the waves crashing behind us. The wind. Our breathing. And then he did what he always does. He tried to take control. Okay, listen, he said, raising his hand slightly. This isn't what it looks like. There. It was. The most predictable line in the world. Lila let out a quiet laugh. Really, she said. Because I'd love to hear what you think it looks like. He ignored her. Focused on me. Why would you do this? He asked. That question. It almost made me smile. Do what? I replied. Bring her here, he snapped. I stepped closer. No, I said quietly. I brought the truth here. That hit. Hard. He clenched his jaw. You're overreacting again, he said. Again. Still trying. Still thinking that word would work. But not anymore. Then explain it, I said. He hesitated. And that was all it took. Because Lila stepped in. Go ahead, she said, crossing her arms. Tell her what you told me. He looked at her sharply. Don't start, he warned. That tone. Not loving. Not caring. Controlling. Or what? She shot back. He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Because for the first time, he wasn't dealing with one version of the truth. He was dealing with both. At the same time. And there was no way out. So which one of us is the real one? I asked. He looked at me. Then at her. And stayed silent. That silence said everything. Lila nodded slowly. Exactly, she said. Then she turned to me. You want to know what he told me last week? I didn't speak. But I nodded. She looked straight at him. You said you needed space, she began. That you were figuring things out. Ethan's face tightened. And while you were figuring things out, she continued, you were telling her she's different. I felt the words land in my chest. Different. Again. I didn't mean, he started. Stop, I said. My voice was calm, but final. He stopped, because for the first time I wasn't asking. I was done listening. I'm not confused anymore, I continued. I looked at him. You don't love either of us. Silence. You love control, I said. That one hit deeper than anything else. Because this time he didn't argue. He didn't deny. He just stood there. Exposed. And that was the moment everything changed. Because the power he had, it was gone. Not because he lost us, but because we saw him clearly. And once you see someone clearly, you can't be manipulated by them again. I stepped back. So here's what's going to happen, I said. He looked up. Confused. Afraid. You don't get to choose anymore. Lila stepped forward beside me. Because we already did. And just like that, the game he had been playing was over. For a moment, no one moved. The waves kept crashing. The wind kept blowing. But everything else felt still. Ethan looked at both of us. Like he was waiting for something. A reaction. A second chance. A way out. But there was nothing left to give him. Are you serious right now? He said finally. His voice wasn't soft anymore. It wasn't apologetic. It was irritated. That told me everything I needed to know. You set me up, he continued. I almost laughed. Set him up? No, I said calmly. You exposed yourself. That hit harder than I expected, because his expression changed, from frustration to something darker. Wow, he said, shaking his head. So this is what you do? Team up against me? Lila crossed her arms. No, she said. We just stopped playing your game. Silence again. But this time it felt different, because he realized it. He wasn't in control anymore. And people like Ethan? They don't handle that well. You're both overreacting, he snapped. It's not that deep. There it was. Minimize. Deflect. Deny. Same pattern. Different situation. But this time it didn't work. 3 years isn't not that deep, Lila said coldly. 3 months of lies isn't not that deep, I added. He looked between us again. Trapped. Cornered. And then he did something I didn't expect. He stepped closer. To me. Look, he said, lowering his voice again. Let's not do this in front of her. Her. Not even using her name. I felt something inside me shut off completely. No, I said. We're doing this right here. He sighed. Annoyed. Fine, he said. Then he looked straight at me. And switched again. That tone. That soft voice. That version of him. You know what we had was real, he said. Had. Past tense. And we can still fix this, he continued. Don't throw it away over something stupid. Stupid. I stared at him. Really stared this time. And I realized something. He still thought this was about choosing between us. Like we were options. Like he was the prize. That realization changed everything. I took a step back. And smiled. Not sadly. Not bitterly. Just clearly. You still don't get it, do you? I said. He frowned. Get what? I shook my head slowly. This was never about her, I said. Then I pointed at myself. And it was never about me. Confusion filled his face. It's about who you are, I continued. That hit. Because this time he didn't interrupt. You lie, I said. You manipulate. You make people feel special just long enough to keep them. Each word landed heavier than the last. And when you're done, I added, you move on like nothing ever mattered. Silence. He didn't deny it. Because he couldn't. Because for the first time someone said it out loud. All of it. Lila stepped beside me again. And for a second we looked at each other. Not as rivals, but as survivors. Then she spoke. I'm done, she said. Simple. Final. No emotion. Just truth. He turned to her quickly. Wait, Lila. But she shook her head. No, then she looked at me. Thank you, she said quietly. I nodded. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from finally seeing the truth. We both turned. And walked away. Together. Leaving him behind. Alone. And for the first time he didn't follow. Because there was nothing left to chase.